What is desalination? Desalination is a process by which salt water is boiled, that steam is then cooled, and that is good water, clean water, pure water. The price of desalination, 0.09 paise per liter. It is possibly there that some money is wasted, and instead of producing water cheaply, you produce it at a high rate. You find some desalination plants in Saurashtra, in Gujarat, which is a dry area, desert area. Tamil Nadu can be justified because they don't get enough rain and they don't have much water. But why does Maharashtra need a desalination plant? We promoted something called Namami Gange, a scheme to clean up the water. So here was a plant that was cleaning the water, and there were people who were throwing their effluent into the river. Common sense, you stop that first and then clean. Hi, this is RN Bhaskar from Bhaskar Ki Business Baatein. It's a channel that comes to you every week with policy analysis, conversations, and occasional business stories. Today, we are going to discuss policy. And the policy is about desalination. How to convert salt water into drinking water. Over the last decade, or let's say the last 2 decades, India has a growing fascination with desalination plants. These are plants usually located near the seashore, which take in seawater, convert them into drinking water, and that water, if the plant has been set up by a private party, is sold to the government. If the plant has been set up by the government says, we have more drinking water for people. According to the notes available, each government which has gone in for a desalination plant says we must create a second resource for drinking water, crucial for our population. Sounds nice. Sounds responsible. But it is not logical. Why do I say it's not logical? Look at the chart in front of you. It talks about some countries. You could take many more countries. But look at one number, and that is water as a percentage of land mass. Land mass differs from country to country. For example, India is 2.5 times smaller than China. Similarly, it's smaller than America. America is 2.5 times bigger than India. And then look at Russia. Russia is 2.5 times bigger than both China and America. Russia has the largest landmass that sweeps across 11 to 12 time zones. But look at water as a percentage of that landmass. From the countries that we've chosen here, the largest amount of fresh water that's available is with Russia. Almost 13%. Russia has a large landmass. In the large landmass, 13% of the landmass is water. In fact, the world's largest freshwater lake is Lake Baikal, which is also there in Russia. Look at India. India has 9% of its landmass underwater. It is less than Russia. Yes. But compare them to the others. It is a higher percentage than America, certainly higher than Pakistan, much, much higher than China. In other words, India is lucky. India is blessed with great abundant supply of water. Because it's abundant, the government of India did not even bother about looking at water. Water was free. Okay, give it free, but at least measure it. So you can know how much water has been consumed by which territory. There are hardly any water meters in agriculture, the biggest consumer of water. And because electricity is not reliable, many farmers leave the pump set on Whenever water comes, it will flow in the field, doesn't matter. The water comes, it flows in the field, from the field it goes back into the river, or it evaporates into the sun. India has wasted water. India has abused water. India has destroyed water. Look at the Ganges, the Ganga. Almost about a decade ago, we promoted something called Namami Gange, a scheme to clean up the water. But typically, we only looked at the scheme and how to spend money and not how to control pollution into the water. So here was a plant that was cleaning the water, and there were people who were throwing the effluent into the river. So effluent kept on flowing in the river and the cleaning continued. Effectively, river water remained dirty. Common sense, you stop that first and then clean. No, common sense does not apply to Indians. So you have the Ganga, the Jamuna, almost every river filled with filth, making the water unusable for drinking and sometimes even unusable for being near it. Look at the Mithi river in Bombay. It stinks. 100 years ago, it was a fresh water, a stream rushing down, and boats and ships would go up the stream into interior Maharashtra. Today, it's putrid. India has destroyed water. And because it has destroyed water, and because it does not measure water, you have people digging tube wells into the ground to pull up water from there. Not surprisingly, Punjab has tube wells which have taken away the groundwater, and now the soil quality has started getting affected. This is happening in Maharashtra too. This is happening in Gujarat also. Again, the result of an ill-planned water policy. The best managed countries where water is concerned are those that do not allow wells to be used unless the well water can be measured on a daily basis. India has not done it. Now, let's go back to desalination. So, the government finds an excuse to set up desalination plant. What is desalination? Typically, as you've studied in your science classes, desalination is a process by which salt water is boiled, the steam comes out, that steam is then cooled, and the cooled steam without the salt comes down and into another container, and that is good water, clean water, pure water. And the salt and other things that get left behind is thrown back into the sea. Now, earlier this was expensive because we used to make electricity through coal or through oil, and that was expensive. So boiling the water was an expensive proposition. Then came in solar power, and solar power pushed the prices lower and lower and lower. So 15 years ago, the price of desalination was about 2 paise a litre. Today the price is $0.001 per litre, which is about 0.09 paise per litre, which means less than 1 paise per litre. None of the desalination plants have come out with data telling the public what is the price at which they produce desalinated water. It is possibly there that some money is wasted, and instead of producing water cheaply, you produce it at a high rate. Now look at the plants that are there, the desalination plants. You find some desalination plants in Saurashtra, in Gujarat, which is a dry area, desert area. Maybe desalination plants can be justified there Even that I would disagree, because it just means redistributing water. If you handle that well, you don't need desalination. But doesn't matter. That is justified. Tamil Nadu can be justified because they don't get enough rain and they don't have much water. Again, you could have redistributed water carefully, but that has not happened. Doesn't matter. But why does Maharashtra need a desalination plant? Maharashtra has water. The trouble with Maharashtra is that you allow more and more land to come under sugarcane growth. Sugarcane is a water guzzler. And the sugar lobby is so powerful, they don't allow water to go into areas other than beyond the sugarcane area. As a result, Vidarbha gets very little water. And most of the farmer suicides in India are in Vidarbha because they have the land, but they don't have the water. And they cannot grow anything. They cannot earn money. Maharashtra has a rotten water policy, and it wants desalination plants now. On the contrary, look at the way international plants are set up. Every international plant has to declare what is a price at which water comes out in a desalinated form. Why can't India have the transparency? I don't know. But that is worrisome. And that is why, because desalination water can be made very cheaply, 0.09 paise per litre, many governments cover up the costs. And desalination may look very attractive, but in reality, it's something that India does not require. NITI Aayog had written a paper once, but it had justified desalination. In reality, what India needs is better water management, not better spending of money on desalination plants. Anyway, thanks for being with me. And thanks for letting me tell you the problem with desalination in India. Good luck to you, and do stay tuned and hope to see you next week with something new. And yes, do tune in to a weekly analysis of news on a News Behind the News program every Saturday morning at 8:15 a.m.